Hello and welcome to The Gist. I'm your host, Chris Vetrano, here to break down all the things happening in pop culture and interviewing the people that make it pop. On today's show, I have a very special guest who just got done with the Shania Twain Vegas residency, playing backup for her. She's also the host of Canada's Got Talent, who has a new season kicking off on March 18th. And her new single, I Shouldn't Call You, with Knightley is out now. We have Lindsay L in the house today, and I'm so excited to chat with her. But before we get to that, the biggest kind of pop culture news of the last week or so is, of course, the Super Bowl. So, Kendrick Lamar did the halftime show. I'm going to be honest, and this is not going to be a surprise to most of you listening who have now come to know I'm not a big sports guy. So, my sports, my Super Bowl are my Housewives reunions. When we're doing all-star Housewives, like this is Super Bowl to me. I'm just not a big Super Bowl guy, or sports in general. But I do know a little bit about what was going on. I know that the Eagles beat the Chiefs, and I know that the Chiefs fans are devastated because this was a huge potential win for them. They could have had a historic win. They didn't. And I know that Kendrick Lamar did the Super Bowl halftime show. And everyone was wondering if he was going to do the diss track against Drake that has, guys, I don't know if you saw the Grammys. I guess that's another big thing that's happened, but the Grammys was wild. Kendrick walked away with almost, I think, all, if not all the awards he was nominated for, but 2 of the big 4 awards of the night: Record of the Year, Single of the Year. Or Song of the Year, rather. With a diss track, it's pretty wild. And he did perform it on the halftime show. So not a great couple of weeks for Drake fans. But that was kind of one of the big news coming out of the Super Bowl. Also, apparently not a lot of Taylor Swift fans in the audience at the Super Bowl this year. Taylor, of course, they're supporting Travis Kelce, her boyfriend. It's been widely, reported about how she shows up at the games and how people feel about that. But of course she's going to be at the Super Bowl. This is her boyfriend after all. But they put her up on the Jumbotron and the crowd started booing her. She was very confused. She didn't know what was going on, didn't realize that it was because of her. I don't know. I mean, all very unfortunate. I think that was very mean-spirited. But, it's interesting because we saw something really similar happen. If you have watched the David Beckham documentary on Netflix, if not, I would urge you to. It's very good. But Victoria Beckham and David, when they first started dating, it was very similar. People did not like that Hush Spice, Victoria Adams, was showing up at the games. And so when they would cut to her in the crowd, sometimes the crowd would boo because they felt like David wasn't playing his best game. So it would make sense, especially, before we even got to halftime, the Chiefs had no points on the board. And so I'm sure even the Chiefs fans in the audience were looking for someone to blame. And apparently that was Taylor. I think it's a little unfair and a little mean, but I'm also not a sports fan. So I'm not really impacted by it. But yeah, the Super Bowl happened, the Grammys happened, the pop girlies continued to get their due. I'm so happy that, they did. I'm going to be honest, I thought that, so it's going to be controversial because some people are so happy that Beyonce won Album of the Year. It was a long time coming. Cowboy Carter obviously is breaking down walls of genre. And so, and Lindsay and I actually talk a lot about that in the interview. But I thought that Sabrina had the best album of the year. I mean, truly, when you look at album, it also broke down genres. I thought that Sabrina had the better album in terms of a album for this year. What Beyonce did and what Beyonce has done over the years and never gotten Album of the Year, I understand why we are celebrating and giving her due. But yeah, we got Chapel, got Best New Artist, Chapel Roan, of course. Sabrina got Best Pop Vocal Album, which, is kind of the consolation prize. Beyonce got Best Country Album. People thought Casey Musgraves was giving shade in the audience. But yeah, it was just the girls got their due. Like Charlie got two, or she may have gotten three Grammys. She didn't get to accept at the live show. So that was a bit of a disappointment, but all the performances were amazing. This was a Grammys for the ages because I watched every moment of it. I enjoyed it for the first time in a long time. So very excited, and kudos to our pop girlies who got recognition this year at the Grammys. But I want to get right into the interview because there's so much to talk about. She's a very good friend of mine, and I'm very excited to have her on the podcast. It has been a long time coming, but she is so busy. Like I said, it has just finished up the Vegas residency with Shania, and that's Shania Twain, icon Shania Twain, who is also going to be a judge this season on Canada's Got Talent, which Lindsay hosts. New season kicks off on March 18th. And she has a new single out now with Knightley called I Shouldn't Call You. And so without further ado, let's get right to the interview with Lindsay L. Lindsay L., I am so excited to have you finally on The Gist.
Chris, thank you so much for having me. I feel like this has been a long time coming. I feel so honored to be your guest.
I know. Well, you are literally like the busiest person. As I mentioned to the listeners, Lindsay and I know each other very well. We've gone back many years, obviously through our friend Cassidy. We met and have gallivanted around Nashville together.
Truly.
But you are so busy. You are literally like either never here. You're always doing like a million different things. So, I mean, the fact that you even made time for me today is astonishing.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I'm coming to you from sunny Las Vegas.
Yes. So you're there doing Shania Twain's residency. I want to talk all about that because you and Shania have had like this, it feels like a partnership now for like a couple of years. And now I know she's also joining Canada's Got Talent. So like, I feel like you guys must just be besties at this point.
You know, that's never a sentence I thought I was ever going to be able to say, Chris, but I do think that my relationship with Shania Twain, is an insane sentence as that is so close, and I'm so grateful for it. You know, we were able to tour with her a couple years ago on the Queen of Me tour and got to open up that tour. It was so special. Got to really know her and her whole team and crew, and now that has turned into me being her guitar player on the road. And if you would have asked my 10-year-old self that I would work with Shania Twain one day, I would probably say you were crazy. But it's just been so cool. Like a lot of the songs that I learned how to sing on, you know, in my bedroom mirror with like a cheap microphone from the dollar store or whatever. Now I'm playing and singing those songs 3 feet away from her on stage. It's just sort of a wild full circle moment.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, there are very few, if any, like people that can truly say like that the person that they aspired to almost be or be like, they're now like performing on stage with every night. So you're killing it.
I guess so. I guess that this is what killing it looks like. The coolest part has been, you know, they say never meet your heroes. And so I think I was so nervous to meet her for the first time, but she is like the coolest of the cool. She's so smart. She's brilliant. She's generous. It's probably her Canadian roots, but she's just so awesome. So it's been really nice to, you know, get to put the person behind the name and be like, oh yeah, it's like just as cool, if not cooler than what you imagine her to be.
Yeah. And I mean, she truly is a legend. And, you know, she took a very long hiatus from the industry, and we didn't know if like she was going to ever get back on stage or release new music. And now she obviously has, and she's coming back in such a huge way. What, like, compared to your shows, because you've also shared the stage with a lot of huge acts, like been on arena tours, and, you know, you share a lot of stages, but like, what is it like in Vegas? Like, I imagine the energy must be unlike anything else.
Yeah, you know, in the past, Vegas was not my favorite place.
Yeah.
It's just like a city that's full of chaos, and people come in here to like party hard for 24, 48 hours and then peace out. And so it hasn't been my favorite place, but I've been here so much over the past year. I've honestly been here almost 6 months throughout the course of the last year. And it has grown on me so much. I mean, the city is so wonderful, from like the hiking and the amazing restaurants, let alone the show itself. You know, you have your audience is coming from all over the world. It definitely is sort of this like stomping grounds where a lot of tourists come in to see their favorite act. You know, they fly in from all over to see Shania. So the audience itself is very electric and it's very welcoming. I mean, you have like people who speak all different kinds of languages. And I always say, I'm like, Shania, she attracts like the 5-year-olds to the 70-year-olds. Like there's truly not a demographic that her music hasn't touched in some way. And it's really cool to see, you know, the older people in the audience being so excited about, for sure, her like discography when she just started.
Right.
And then seeing like the young 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kid being really excited about the music that she just released. And so it's like, whoa, it's so cool to see, you know, her impact as an icon. I mean, she has broken records that not very many female artists, or I don't think any other female artist has broken in the world.
Yeah.
And yet she's still releasing relevant music that is like engaging the next generation. So it's been really inspiring just to watch her command the stage and watch her do her thing. It's almost like the perfect crash course, or like the best college course I could ever ask for, like watching an icon be herself and getting like a behind the scenes look of how that whole, you know, gear works.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you are a musician and a singer yourself. So you're kind of playing like, you know, the guitar role for Shania. But aside from that, you do your own music. And so I imagine that you're also picking up like performance tips and seeing how because she's known for what she brings on stage. And you also do that in such a big way. But I have to, again, imagine that like being alongside her, you're like, oh, I'm going to start engaging the crowd in that way, or doing this like thing that really gets people going. Like, do you feel like that kind of strikes you while you're on stage?
For sure. I mean, anytime I open up for an artist that I love, you know, be that Shania or One Republic or Maren Morris or all of the tour, Keith Urban, the tours that I've been so grateful to be a part of. And I always watch the headliner set because I just think that you pick up little pieces of everything. And for sure, like watching Shania engage with the audience is one of my favorite things. She's just so herself, but she's so real. And she knows like the right things to say at the right moments, and is also very freeform. Like every night we never know what she's gonna say. You know, we never know, she might like break into an a cappella song, which is really cool. Every show is like tailored to the audience in that way. And so, yeah, I learned so much from being able to watch her and work with her. And it just like makes me like itch to like get back into the spotlight and play my own shows and put all of these new lessons into practice.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about that because last year you gave us a new EP, Love Myself. And then your new single just came out, I Shouldn't Call You, with Nightly. Yeah. Now, you're definitely going more into the pop direction. Are you leaving the country stuff behind? And is this like an intentional move for you? You know, give me kind of the story there.
I would never say leaving. I mean, country music is how I learned how to write songs. You know, it's where I grew up. When I moved to Nashville, the whole country music community sort of took me in as like a big hug, basically. And so I will always have elements of country in my music and in my songwriting and in who I am as a human being. I just feel like even when I first came to Nashville, you know, I wanted to make a record that sounded like a female John Mayer. And so from that place, and then getting offered a record deal from a country record label, getting to tour the world for over a decade, I learned so much from that. But I just feel called as an artist right now and as a songwriter to evolve into things that are a little bit bigger than just sonically what country music sort of the playground that country music sort of allows you to play in. And so I just feel like as an artist, I really need to listen to what my heart is calling for. And like I said, like you will always hear those elements, those country elements in my songwriting, but sonically, I need to play in a bigger playground. So I've been, evolving into places that I haven't been able to write from or record from in a long time, like ever since I was a little girl, really. And so it's felt so exciting. And really, when I look at any of my favorite artists, they are not defined by one genre. They may have a project that leans like more to a certain genre. But, when you look at artists like Sheryl Crow, or even like elements of Keith Urban, or for sure John Mayer, I mean, they fuse all of these genres together, and it's like the way they write their songs and the way they sing and the way they perform. It creates this like very unique mosaic that then becomes them as an artist. And so I just feel I want to lean into that more. And I just want to make music that sounds like Lindsay and have my fans just fall in love with that. And any band that I look up to right now is caring a lot less about the genre lines and a lot more about the music. At the end of the day, I think it's the songs that matter most. And I get that you do need like a category to like file something in a song library or something. But beyond that, I don't think fans care at all. They just want a song that makes them connect with their lives and makes them remember something or inspires them. And so I'm just trying to make music that feels the most real and think a lot less of, the borders of where it needs to live.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you're right about the whole industry has changed so much. And, we just saw Beyonce win at the Grammys, not only album of the year, but also best country album. And who would have thought when Beyonce came out that she'd be winning best country album at the Grammys? And Sabrina Carpenter is another great example of like, she's clearly like a pop star, and like Espresso is one of the like best pop songs, I think, in so many years. Like that is one of my favorite songs, but
it's so
like,
good.
Then on the record, there's a lot of country, and that's like got a lot of like little Casey moments, like Slim Pickens and other songs in there. And her audience responds to all of it. And, and I think that's really interesting. I think country is kind of one of the few genres that still really kind of plants their footing in we are country music and we're defined this way as a country act. But you also see like, Beyonce and Post Malone and these other artists that are starting to come into the country genre because they just want to make the music that they love. And so I love hearing you say like you're doing the same thing. So tell me a little bit about the new single and how the collaboration came.
The new single, so I've been writing a lot with Nightly, who's a band who lives in Nashville, and they're just so talented. I've been like really just loving the music that they've been releasing over the past couple of years. And as we got to writing and creating music together, it just sort of fell into place. And we wrote this song, I Shouldn't Call You. And I was like, this is such a jam and I love it. And they sounded so good on it. And so I was like, this is just so naturally perfect. And oftentimes, when I have done features in the past, it sort of falls into place like that. Like very rarely is it planned. Okay, now this artist and this artist will come together and they will write a song and then it will be released. It's more just like we're hanging out and we write something and we both like it, or we meet some place and then a song is created. And so, it just happened so naturally. And yet we both loved it so much. So I was so grateful that they said yes and they'd come on it.
Yeah, I love it. And I love the video. I think that I do love this new sound. I love the EP that you put out. And I'm glad to hear that you're just sort of like breaking down the walls of the country space, because now you can kind of jump on any tour and go to any festival or, do all of the things that sort of just inspire you. And I am curious, are we going to get a full length? Because this song obviously was not on the EP. So is this ushering in the second project?
Yes, I can tell you that there's a full length in the works right now.
Perfect.
Yeah, I may have another single that I'll drop in a few months, and I'm working on finishing the record as we speak. And so I've been writing songs in between show days here in Vegas, and I've been going to LA to write a lot, and I've been working with my producer in Brooklyn, actually in New York. So yeah, I have some studio time coming up in a couple months, and you will definitely get a full length for me between now and the end of the year.
Amazing. And what is inspiring you right now? Because so much, I know that especially on your last record, there was like a lot of thematic, you kind of write around themes and what you're truly going through in your life. What is inspiring you now, and what are we going to expect from this project?
I love this question. Yeah. On my EP, it was all about finding ways to love myself deeper and, going through recovery of my eating disorder and even like deeper childhood wounds. And I think that's something that, we sort of look at and we heal and we work on for our entire lives. But that record was so important to me to sort of write around the prefaces of like, okay, what if I actually did the real deep work and was just very transparent about the healing process, like the onset of the healing process. And so now the rest of the record is more like, okay, we're on this journey, as I will be for the rest of my life, but I just want to be very transparent about the things that I'm going through and the things that I'm learning and the things that I'm experiencing in the world. And it feels very vulnerable and very raw and very like connective in the best ways. The music that I love listening to is all of those things. And so I think themes that you'll see on this full length is, me trying to listen to myself a lot more, which I was so good. I was so good at Chris at not listening to myself and like numbing that voice. I think that sometimes when we get into the entertainment industry, when we're younger, we just get so used to like being this thing and smiling and performing on stage and pretending like everything's okay when it isn't. And I do get that there's an element also to this business of like, it's time to go to work. It's like time to lights, camera on, and you gotta perform. But if you really carry that, like, okay, I'm ready to be on into your personal life, which I did, I never had a really good conversation with myself ever. I was just like, it's always work all the time, and I'm going to be busy all the time. And if I'm not busy, then my intuition may start to talk to me, and that's kind of scary. And so I'm just going to work all the time. And now I'm like really sitting with myself and having some of those conversations and trying to listen to like what my body feels and what I like and what I don't like. And I know that all sounds very basic, but I numbed myself with an eating disorder for 20 years, for the better part of 20 years. And so I do feel like a toddler in a lot of ways of like feeling feelings, I feel like I'm still getting used to like sitting with anxiety and being like, this feels terrible. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And so I find that I'm writing a lot about all of that, and of course that spills into everything from my job to my love life to the aspirations that I'm working towards. And so, I'm really excited about this next record. I feel like it's going to be just like a very vulnerable spill of the tea.
Yeah. Also very therapeutic. I mean, getting to kind of share that through your music has to be this like extensive release of all these things that you've, essentially hid for so long because you were trying to do exactly what you thought artists needed to do, which is, appear this, I guess, unrealistic perfection probably is like what it boils down to. But, it's so interesting because when you first came out about your eating disorder and, all of the things that you were kind of like hiding and all the things that you talked about, it was so interesting to me because you were such I know you behind all of that. And I know that you actually are a very private person. But what was so interesting is that on social media, like you were sharing everything. Like you were like, okay, now I'm boarding this plane and this is where I'm going. And like you bring fans along in such a open way, but then meanwhile, like hiding this big secret and this thing that you were really struggling with. And so being able to like finally share that must have also just changed your perspective on like how you interact as a, celebrity with fans who are looking at all of your content day in and day out. Like it must just change that conversation, not only that you're having with yourself, but also the people that are tuning in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it changed it in a lot of ways, like 180 degrees, I think that there were so many aspects of myself that I was just, like you said, so used to just going on autopilot. And yeah, I would share a lot, but I wouldn't necessarily like get down below the surface.
Right.
And right now, I mean, gosh, like you go on TikTok and there's a lot of that vulnerability going through. It's almost like now that's what social media is. It's like getting to the real. And if you don't want to get to the real, then it's almost like you aren't accepted the same or something, which I do love. I mean, I love the transparency and the vulnerability. And even like when I'm around younger kids and I get to see them like talk to their friends, it is so inspiring that they're very open. They're like, well, my ADHD is this and my OCD. And they're just like very open about talking about all the things that I'm like, yes, I love to see it.
Yeah.
And so I do have so much hope that things are moving in a beautiful direction where like a lot of these conversations are normalizing and everything that I've been through in my life was extremely liberating for sure.
Yeah.
But I just hope that it's going to become more commonplace to have like real conversations and bring all of your ugliness out on the table and look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's actually not ugly. That's what makes me who I am. And that's what makes me different and makes me unique and help me put like a very unique stamp on the world.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because I again think that this is really prevalent in country, is there's like such a stereotype of like what a country female artist is. Like you fit into one box. You're like either a Carrie or a Dolly, or you're it's like you're one of these things. And then everyone kind of like fits that mold. And when people try to break that mold, it's like the industry doesn't really know what to do with them. But really, I think what the world wants is authenticity and uniqueness. And I think by you kind of breaking down the walls and saying like, I'm going to sing what I want to sing, I'm going to play the kinds of music, and even like I'm an artist, but I'm going to go and share the stage with an icon and play guitar for her and, do that because it's giving me opportunity to be in front of everybody, but also it's something that's feeding your childhood dreams. And you're just doing it. And like, that's totally acceptable to do all the things.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah. I feel like it's why I dyed my hair purple. I mean, I don't know how long I'll continue this purple hair because it's a lot to keep up, but I think a little bit of it was like, I'm going to rebel against this box that I've tried to fit in. And from the minute I got to Nashville, I would have people be like, she's not country. You're not country. Like there's nothing country about you. And it's like, okay, but what even is that anyways? And as you said, like Beyonce and Lana Del Rey and all these artists are doing like these country projects. And it's really exciting to have the tent be widened, and artists like Casey Musgraves. Oh my God, I'm so inspired by her because she just stays true to her inner artist. And she just makes the music that she loves and then lets her fans follow her wherever her arrow points, and so, I am very inspired by watching artists just like do their thing and be who they are. And I am trying to put that into my own art too. And say that there's no one way to do it. And if there was, it would be really boring and it would get old so fast.
Absolutely. Totally. And I mean, and beyond even the music aspect of what you're delivering, now and I'm saying now, but you've been doing it for, I think, 3 seasons now. Canada's Got Talent. You are hosting the show. This is a whole
Yeah.
other sort of layer now of your career. I'm so curious, like how that came to be. And then, I want to hear, I know the upcoming season is premiering, I think, March 18th.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that experience.
I always wanted to get involved in TV. I think that the world of TV is so fascinating. And the fact that you can, music is obviously art to a certain medium. And then the fact that you can actually bring that to color and motion, and it just brings it to a whole other dimension. And so I've always been very interested in getting involved in TV. Music will always be my first and foremost and will be the main event. But the worlds just go like so beautifully together. And I have always loved talent shows like Got Talent specifically, because I think that it's just so special to showcase, yes, musicians, yes, singers, but also dancers and acrobats and magicians and people that don't even fit in any of those categories. Like, if you have a talent and you want to perform it on a worldwide stage, like come to our stage. And so it's been so cool watching all of these human beings step out on stage and be like, I don't even know what to call that, but that's incredible. And I don't know how this human is performing this.
Yeah.
So it's been very rewarding to be able to participate in like letting all of these people have a spotlight and a worldwide stage to perform their talent. And also learn about the world of TV and get to be close to Howie Mandel and Lily Singh and Trish Stratus and Cardi and now we've really invited Shania. Like, Shania invited me into her world on stage, and now I've got to invite her into my world of CGT, and it's just been so fun. I'm so excited about this season because Shania is one of the most incredible judges. I mean, not like spoiler alert, but not to let too much out of the bag, but like she just is so intentional and generous with all of her comments, specifically to any of the singers. And I'm just like, wow, if I was just starting out and I got that advice from Shania, it's a very special season. Some of the talent, have flown in from all around the world, and like, you see things that you should be seeing in this city, like Vegas. Like, these acts deserve worldwide stages. And so I just so enjoyed being a part of Canada's Got Talent and helping give, acts who are very, very worthy of the spotlight some time on stage.
Yeah. And when the rumors were starting that Katie was potentially going to step down from American Idol, I was like, Shania would be amazing because, and I always thought that. I even thought that, like, back in the early days when like Paula was, originally leaving the show, is I was like, because she is warm and she is such an icon, that I was like, why isn't she doing that? So this feels like the perfect platform for her to kind of go and really share all of this knowledge that she has about the industry and her experience, just as you said, like she's essentially rubbing off on these people that will carry that through the rest of their careers, much like you have as well.
Yeah, it's been so wonderful to witness, and that's a good word for it. Like yeah, her compassion and her intelligence together is just a very unique combination, and let alone being icon Shania Twain.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool watching people's faces when they get to go on stage and meet Shania and Howie. And Catherine Ryan is a part of our season this year. She is so funny. I knew who she was, but I didn't really know a lot about her comedy before this season. And I will say the dichotomy of Catherine and Shania is truly perfect. Like, Catherine is so funny. She's a Canadian comedian who's been living in the UK for a long time, I think over a decade. She's raised a family there, and so she has like all of this knowledge around the world, and like has the driest sense of humor that is so funny, that paired with Shania and Howie and Cardi, it is just it's the funniest season we've ever had.
That's amazing. do you film the whole thing ahead of time, or is there a live component?
There's definitely a live component.
Okay,
We
that's what I thought.
pre-shoot a lot of the season just because, from their initial addition to then like the eliminations round, there's a lot of preparation that goes into like some of these acts take months and months to plan and practice, and some of the acrobats could truly fall and hurt themselves if they didn't have time to practice. So yeah, we've shot a lot of the season, but yeah, it starts airing March 18th, which I'm so excited for, and then our live finale will be in the middle of May.
Okay, so you're headed back in May to finish up the show. And then how long do you film the like first part of the season? Is it all pretty like rapid, or are you there for several months?
It's pretty organized, which has been amazing. It's also very interesting, to learn about the industry of television, because unlike music, like for sure music, you spend, long amounts of time like working on a record. And then once you release that record, then you're touring that thing consistently, and that's how you work it. But TV is a lot more like everything's on the front end, and then you kind of let it out into the world. Like during auditions, we go up for about a couple weeks and shoot that. And then the eliminations is just under a week, like a week to a week. And we're working long days, like it's 15-hour days usually, like full. And we shoot multiple shows a day. Like it's pretty intense while you're out there, but then you like pre-shoot everything, which it's just like the magic of TV, that you do all of the work, and then once the package is like perfectly packaged and you put a bow on, and then you push it out into the world and get to see what everybody thinks of it. So it's so different than music in a lot of ways. But I love the difference of it, and it just feels really good to like go there and put a lot of energy and work into it, and then know that now it goes out into the world.
Yeah. I know that like The Voice is really similar, where they're doing a lot of the front end, like, and then they have to sit on it for months at times, like where for the contestants, especially on The Voice, like it's just singing, but they like know they're going to be on the show, but then they go home for months while they like figure out kind of the next stage before it's the lives, and they have to like put it on air, and all this stuff sort of starts happening. And so yeah, the magic of TV, it's a completely different beast than you're used to.
It's a completely different beast. I mean, I even think of shows like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. They pre-shoot months and months in advance, or Love is Blind. And what if you like got married on the show, and then everybody signs like hefty NDAs that you can't post anything, you can't like be seen in public? Like that would be pretty annoying, really. Like if you're married to somebody but you can't like go out in public or be seen.
Yeah.
And so, TV magic is definitely a different form of magic, but I think we all get it. It takes time, and oftentimes it makes sense to like really pre-tape a lot of it.
Yeah, well, and I think like we see that too with like all the reality shows. Like I, watch all of the Bravo shows, as you may know, and like it's so interesting because right now there's this big debate about a breakup that happened on Southern Charm and Summer House. Like Craig and Paige, they were kind of the it couple of Bravo for a couple of years, and they broke up like around Thanksgiving, and then Craig had to go do a bunch of press for the upcoming season of Southern Charm, and he just talked about their relationship as if they were still in one, even though they like had broken up. And people are like, oh, that feels like he was lying, and why was he doing that? And it's like, well, but that is part of the magic of television, unfortunately, is that like when you're on a reality show like that, you can't reveal the storyline until the viewers get to see it. And so that's also like just a very strange kind of place to be, because as you were saying, like I don't want to give too much away, like what's going to happen a lot on this season, but now you're kind of like tight-lipped so that the viewers can watch and experience it for the first time as well.
Yeah, it is the blessing and the curse of it. It's nice to have the insider info, but it's also so hard to not tell it. And I can only imagine, some of the actors and actresses that go on those reality TV shows, of how hard it must be. And that's why I think, everybody has to sign such intense NDAs, because that is the importance of, like you said, the storyline of the season.
Yeah. So is there more hosting in your future? Is that something that you want to continue beyond Canada's Got Talent?
Yeah, I love hosting, and even I love acting, you know. I would love to even move into the scripted side of things and do acting on the side of music, of course, like weaving it into my music career. But the good thing about music right now is I feel like even a few years ago it was sort of the norm to just tour all the time, especially if you were like a newer artist and you kind of would just be gone all the time. But now anything post-COVID, I feel like a lot of my friends and a lot of artists I talk to, everything is like very succinct. Like you will have like a pretty succinct tour for however many months, and then you go off and you write and you work on your next record and you live your life, so you have things to write about. And so I would love to get involved in more of TV, especially since, you know, it seems like a lot of my life is scheduled out in months block.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's definitely on my vision board for this year, and manifesting and auditioning and taking acting classes and doing all the things that I can on my own. But it's really cool to look towards the future and be like, yeah, I would love to do more of that.
Yeah. Well, and our girl has moved to New York and doing her show. Would something like that be in your future? Like, would you do a Broadway musical?
You know, I'm so proud of Cassidy. It's just so cool watching her shine and watching her evolve into where she's going. And honestly, like, I'm sure all of your listeners know, but yeah, watching her with her journey with Titanic and the incredible voice she has and the fact that she can like bring that to the stage of acting, I think like Broadway's the perfect thing for her. Yeah. I don't know if I could even do Broadway. It would have to be like the right thing, I think. Yeah. I would love to write a musical one day. Kind of, you know, like Sarah Bareilles did Waitress. And so I would love to write a musical and then maybe launch it for a short time and then let it carry its wings and go back and tour and play shows. Could I do Broadway extended? I don't know. I don't know if that's my path or not, but I would love to get into more of like the scripted side of things on TV and film for sure.
Yeah, behind a camera, not necessarily on stage every night. Yeah, I know. I think last week, I think was her first week where she had like 8 shows in the week, and she was like, "This is insane." She's like, "It's such a different beast." Even like, you know, in a 7-day week, I'm sure she was touring and had like shows or radio things that she had to do. So she was busy, and you know that world, like you can work 7 days, but doing a show like that is so hard on your voice, and I think just like in general so hard on you. So it definitely is a commitment that, you know, not everyone wants it. So I get, but I could see you in like, something like Roxy Hart or, you know, doing something. I could see you doing that.
I feel like I could do a short stint on Broadway. Yeah. Like even when you see like Alicia Keys Broadway Hell's Kitchen is like so good. It's so good. Or like JoJo went and, you know, did Broadway for a few months. I definitely could do that. But yeah, massive kudos to Cass. I don't even know how she does 2 shows. And there's like a different pressure to like a Broadway show than there is, I think, your own musical show, like concert. Yeah. When there's so many actors and there's like so many revolving pieces, there's like a different pressure in that kind of show, you know? So I can only imagine doing 8 shows a week is like hella intense.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Are you going to be able to see her?
Yes, I know. I've been keeping up with her, and I've been sending her all the love. I was so sad I wasn't there for opening night, but of course I've been here in Vegas. And yeah, I'm planning my trip to New York as we speak, and I'm actually going out there to record, so it kind of fits perfect. Have you been out to see it yet?
Not yet. I'm going at the end of March, so just saying, like, we could coordinate. Perfect. You could come. I think I'm going to. It's like a midweek show, but I'm going for work, and yeah, I was like, I have to see it. Joe really wants to come too, but he was like, well, can we go when it's a little warmer in New York? Like we can enjoy New York. I don't really want to like be freezing and then go just see the show. But yeah, we really were jealous that folks got to go on opening night, and we've had a few other friends that have already gone, and I'm like, don't tell me anything. Like I just want to like, I want to pretend it's not happening.
Fresh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll link up when we're both there. I know. So this week is Valentine's Day on Friday.
Yeah.
Tell me, are you going to be celebrating with a Valentine?
I am. I have a show in Calgary that I'm flying up for, and so I will land on Valentine's Day, like Valentine's Day early afternoon. And do I have plans? Not really. Valentine's Day, like going out, spending like outrageous amounts of money at a restaurant, it's just like not my vibe. I much rather prefer like cooking dinner at home, maybe watching a movie, just having like a real chill night, especially when most of my life is like going out and playing loud shows in loud venues when I get my own time, or like holidays or special days like Valentine's Day. I'm just like, I'm going to like stay in for once.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like New Year's. It's like, it's kind of for like the amateurs of going out, because, you know, Joe and I go out to eat all the time, as you know, you've been with us, and
Joe
it's
is
just
the
like
best.
Prefix menus that are like not the restaurant's best like items, and then it's so expensive. You're like, oh, this meal was like a $400 dinner, but it's like the worst showing of the restaurant. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that.
Exactly.
So we always like try to find a local spot that's like not really doing anything and like just sneak in. But I don't even know if we have real plans yet, but
that's great. Sometimes like the most impromptu plans are the best ones.
Yeah, for sure. So you were talking about like the waitress and doing this, so it made me think, like, you know, obviously we talk a lot about pop culture here. I have talked a lot about like what has influenced me to become such a pop culture connoisseur. What are those things for you? Like, was there a movie, a television show, a song or artist like that really inspired you, that you feel like you maybe kind of like created your sound or your look, or that like really influenced your life in some way?
Man, to just choose one, it would be like impossible. I mean, if I were just to choose one, I guess Shania would be honestly the closest one. Like when I was a little girl growing up in Canada, she was like the GOAT, you know? She was just so obviously beautiful and sexy and talented. She had such an incredible voice, and yet her songs said something. Like she had a message that she like stood for. And so I was so inspired by her. And then I was so inspired by songwriters like Joni Mitchell and Carole King, and singers like Aretha Franklin and you know, Stevie Wonder. And then I picked up the guitar. You know, I started playing guitar when I was 8 years old, and I was so inspired by Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan and sort of all these like blues guitar gods that really fused a lot of my playing today. And so I'm like such a mishmash of a whole bunch of artists. And then yet even on like the social human side, I'm so inspired by Oprah and Glennon Doyle and like all of these people who, and like Elizabeth Gilbert, who are not afraid to like, again, talk about the real feelings, and yet put them in like sizable chunks that we can digest. And so I'm inspired by like so many different kinds of brains in different ways, you know? But I'm really grateful, because again, I think that art is a way of making that mosaic look of like so many different colors from so many different places.
Yeah. And so 8 years old, like when does Jimi Hendrix get introduced? Like, was it at 8, or is that something that you found later? Like, I'm so curious, because like when I was 8, I wasn't thinking about Oprah. I wasn't thinking about like these icon people. I mean, at the time, you know, it was like the Spice Girls, who are icons now. And, you know, people that became icons. But when I was 8, I was definitely not thinking about the greatest people. It was just sort of like, what was the coolest thing at the time?
Totally. I mean, yeah, I started playing piano when I was 6, and I was playing like classical piano, which I'm so grateful for now, having that foundation of like theory. But then I picked up a guitar, and my dad played, and he taught me like the intro riff to Stairway to Heaven. And I'm like, this is so much cooler than classical concerto, whatever. And so I just started playing, and I didn't get introduced to Jimi Hendrix until like maybe I was 13 or something. I went to like bluegrass camps with my dad when I was really little, which again is so technically difficult from an instrument standpoint. I'm so grateful that I learned that music early on. And I was super into guitar players like Tommy Emmanuel. He's this like amazing guitarist out of Australia and like moves this like really cool way when he plays. And so I was super into that when I was like 8, just learning guitar. And then when I turned 13, I started working with a guy by the name of Randy Bachman. So from Bachman Turner Overdrive, Guess Who, like Taking Care of Business, You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, all those classic rock songs. Randy wrote those songs, and he became like another dad to me growing up in a lot of ways, and taught me how to write a song and how to record in a professional recording studio, and would sit in the studio and just play like all of these like insane jazz chords up and down the neck. He learned how to play guitar from this guy named Lenny Bro, the Getting So Guitar Nerd, which probably nobody cares about except me. But but from that point, I was like, whoa, what is this world of the blues? What is this world of rock guitar? And so from 13 on, I just became obsessed with Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I wanted to like learn all the solos and learn their phrasing and like watching Hendrix perform and like light guitars on fire and stuff. I was just like, whoa, this is wild.
Yeah.
And so in my teens, I kind of departed, because before then I was listening to all of the women like Shania and Faith Hill and Martina McBride, and they were like my soundtrack. I would like yell at my brother in the car if he turned the radio off from the country station. And I was like, no, we must listen to, Faith and Shania and Martina and all of the women. And then I turned 13 and I discovered Jimi Hendrix, who now my dog is named after.
Yeah.
And I like jumped into this whole other world, and I was like, whoa, it was like I learned a new language or something. And so most of my teens, I was playing blues and rock and pop music, just like absorbing it so intensely. And then shortly after I turned 20, I moved down to Nashville and got offered a country record deal and was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I'll just try to fuse all these elements together.
Yeah.
And now, over a decade later, I'm still doing that.
Here you are. Yes. Well, I mean, you just truly have had such a already like incredible career. You have done so many things. And I think that like oftentimes like artists that aren't, Shania Twain and aren't the Carries. And, I kind of, if people like don't know, I'm like kind of turning my back on country music from when I used to work in it. And then obviously we have our friend Cassidy who left the genre. Like we know that it's a tough place, especially for women. And, I think that if you don't hear it or if you don't feel it, I hope that you hear me like and others tell you like you have had an incredible career and all of these things that you've done, sharing your authentic stories, doing the Canada's Got Talent, like doing the hosting gigs. I mean, you're doing things that just people don't do. And I feel like don't always get celebrated either in the right ways. And so I hope that you feel celebrated as an artist and that you get to celebrate yourself in those kind of ways. And you get to, take a break once in a while and go, wow, I do a lot of fucking cool shit and I want to celebrate myself. And I hope you get to do that because you really are a astonishing talent and your story is just so inspiring.
Thank you so much, Chris. That's so sweet of you to say. Yeah, I have tried hard to celebrate myself and try to get better at accepting compliments and just like really receiving those things. I think that it comes with like really investigating how to love yourself deeper and how to learn to receive love, not just give it. Um, and so that's so sweet of you to say thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And I mean it, because I think, I used to always have this conversation with Cassidy too, where I was like, yeah, like that record or that song didn't have the success or the thing that you thought that it might, or that you really wanted it to. But like, look at where you are now. And like, now she's doing this incredible thing on Titanic. But it doesn't mean that that song or that thing that didn't resonate, like, doesn't still need to be celebrated, because it did resonate with some. It just might not have resonated with the masses. And I just think that like independent artists, and I know you are signed, but in this like genre and in this space of music right now, I think it's really hard to be celebrated unless you have, a viral TikTok song, or you're Beyonce or Taylor Swift, or, and it's just, I feel like people right now, especially in music, like aren't getting their due. And so when they come on, I always want to make sure that we, let everyone know, like, you're doing things that everyone, like, people are tuning into this interview right now because of you, and because they want your story and they're inspired by you. And that's why I love having the platform to have these conversations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it is a weird time in social media right now. And it's like so much driven by the clickbait of numbers and stats. And TikTok is so interesting because it's empowering in that anybody can record anything they want and put it up on the internet, and it can go viral within minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same point, a lot of those viral moments are so short-lived that it's hard to do that again and again and again. And so when we have a culture that's so wrapped around like the intensity of fleeting viral moments, it's really hard to have like, or to try to look at like the longevity of a career in that space that is driven by the stats of short-lived viral moments.
Yeah.
And so, I think I've gotten a lot better at looking at the numbers a lot less. Yeah. Thankfully, I do have a team that is obsessed with those numbers, but I think it does get in the brain of especially people who have creative jobs and who are creatives and are trying to like create from a place of not thinking about numbers. Because I think that when you do create art, thinking about the numbers, it doesn't end up being authentic for sure. And it probably doesn't end up being really good compared to just like making something for the greatness of what it is and the uniqueness of what it is. And it's because it's what you want to say, and then letting it go out into the ethos and deciding on itself what kind of numbers it's going to make. And so I've just tried to like look at, the chicken before the egg in the right way, and just make art for making art and care about the numbers a lot less, because you also don't know what's going to happen. Like, you don't know the thing that may look like it's not reacting, maybe the thing that might inspire somebody to then hire you for the next thing that is going to like be massive. And so you never know what's going to connect the dots. And so I just think that you just need to constantly create, constantly release stuff into the world, and worry a lot less about how it's going to do.
Exactly. And I hope that we as a society and as an industry, it changes, because like I think Chapel Roan is such a great story of, putting out this record and it wasn't getting what the label thought it should, and she got dropped. And then you see that this, like, I mean, she literally sang this song at the Grammys, and sales are like crazy high the day after. And it's like, she ended up with a viral hit and became a huge talent. And now the world knows her, but that label is missing out on her because they dropped her. And it's like, I hope that labels and not just in the music industry, but I think entertainment in general, I hope that people stop focusing so much on those fleeting viral moments. I love the way that you kind of described that, because even those people that are hitting record in their bedroom and they have a viral moment, they're not prepared for what that might mean, or how to be success, or how to take that to the next level. And I just think that we end up in a kind of dangerous place if we don't foster the artists and the people that are willing to put in the work, and that not everything's going to work out the way that everyone thought it should. So yeah, no, I love it, but I just think that you are doing all the right things, and I am truly, truly, like, I've always been a fan of you and your music, but I love this like more pop direction, the purple hair, the flannel. You're giving me my 90s girl dream vibes.
Yes.
I love it. So keep doing it, but tell us, like, what is next for you, and then where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm working on a bunch of new music, so definitely check out I Shouldn't Call You, the brand new single, but I'll have more music coming out in a few months, and then a full record coming later this year, as well as tour dates will be coming later. There's lots of good updates on its way.
Good. And are you coming?
People can find me. I will answer both of your questions. People can find me at my Instagram, Lindsay Lindsayell, or my website, or TikTok, all the socials. Make sure you look for the blue check.
Yeah.
And come say hi. I'm also starting a vlog. I have thought so long and hard about, because I've been asked to start a podcast, but as you know, that's like a lot of work, intense work every single week. And I was like, I don't know if that feels right yet. And yet I go all these cool places and have all these like really compelling stories to tell and cool things to show. And I wanted some medium to be able to show it. And so I don't know exactly when it's launching yet, but I have been shooting a lot of cool things and I'm in the midst of getting ready. This is the first time I've actually said this on anything. To launch my vlog. And I'm so excited about it.
And that will be on your YouTube?
It'll be on YouTube, yeah.
Perfect. Well, yes, everyone will definitely check that out. And of course, follow you for even more, because you do always share what's going on. And for me, are you coming back to Nashville soon? Are you coming home?
I am. I will come home for a few days. I'm just like in and out the next few months.
Okay.
Yeah, after Valentine's Day, I'll be home, and then I'm in LA, and then I come home, and then I'm in New York. So, but maybe we'll see each other in New York, and we can go see Cass's show.
Yes. Well, I'm sure Hendrix is just like the traveling pup at this point. Like,
oh my gosh,
probably travels better than I do.
She travels better than all of us. Okay, let's be real. She just like sits on plush things and gets swaddled in soft things and gets fed. So it's pretty much the dream life.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, next time when you like finally settle into Nashville, we have to go to dinner and catch up. But it was so good to chat with you today, and good luck with the rest of the residency and all of the Got Talent stuff that's coming. And then, of course, your new music. I can't wait to hear more. Lindsay, thank you for stopping by The Gist.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Chris. It's so good to catch up.
Yes. All right. We'll see you.
Bye.
Man, I really do. I just love Lindsay. She just is one of the hardest working people in the business, and she does so many things, and she shares so much of her story authentically with her fans, and I just love it. So I hope you guys liked the interview. As always, please rate and subscribe. And that brings us to the end of the show. And until next time, it's Chris Vetrano. You can find me on all the socials at CM Vetrano, and I hope to see you there. And I hope to see you at our next episode of The Gist. Until then, bye.